Yesterday, Israel carried out Operation Long Arm, an airstrike into the port of Hodeidah in Houthi-controlled territory of Yemen. We're going to talk about today what we know so far and what this means going forward. So according to Israel, and we're going to play some of the footage here of the aftermath of that strike, they say after 9 months of continuous aerial attacks by the Houthis in Yemen towards Israel, Israeli Air Force fighter jets conducted an extensive operational strike over 1,800 kilometers away against Houthi terrorist military targets in the area of the Al Hudaydah port in Yemen. They say the port serves as an entryway for Iranian weapons for the Houthi terrorist regime. The IDF is capable of operating anywhere required and will strike any force that endangers Israelis. So according to the Israeli military, the port singled out here was regularly used, continuously used by the Houthis to bring in Iranian weapons. Hence, Israel viewed the port as a legitimate military target. Worth noting, the majority of the weapons that we've seen used by the Houthis at this point, either targeting commercial shipping or military vessels in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, or more recently, and we'll get into this here in a moment, the drone that was used to attack Tel Aviv just a couple days ago. They all are very similar, if not exact replicas of Iranian weapons. So for a long time, the kind of leading theory has been that Iran is either sending weapons either in whole or in part directly to the Houthis, one of their proxies across the region, or the Houthis maybe have the capabilities of kind of assembling, reverse engineering to a degree with Iranian help, some of these weapons inside of Yemen. According to Israel, they say the airstrike targeted fuel depots as well as other facilities at the port. Again, a lot of videos and a lot of pictures showing pretty significant damage as it appears. According to the Houthis, they say that 6 people were killed and more than 80 injured in this attack. That's the only casualty estimate we've seen so far. All reports show that all Israeli aircraft made it back safely into Israeli territory. Now, there's a couple pieces of rumors worth getting into here and addressing them as rumors. The first is that both F-35s and F-15s from Israel were used in this attack, as well as possibly F-16s. I just saw that in one report. There definitely were refuelers needed during this attack, just due to the range that the targets were engaged. And then, of course, reconnaissance aircraft and recovery aircraft in the event that any of these planes were shot down. I did see some rumors. We're going to pull up a map here to give you an idea of the areas we're talking about. For starters, this attack was due in response to a Houthi attack carried out against Tel Aviv a couple days ago. It was a Samad 3 style looking drone that came in from the west and impacted in Tel Aviv, killing one Israeli civilian and wounding at least 4 others. This was just a couple days ago, and it was the northernmost attack carried out by the Houthis in Israeli territory ever. So they have launched quite a few attempted strikes into the southern portion of Israel down here, but of course Tel Aviv quite a bit further north, kind of at the range of these Houthi munitions, especially the Samad-style drone. Now, there was some talk about what countries allowed Israel to fly over to conduct this strike. Again, using the map here, I think we can show that that wasn't necessarily needed. It's entirely possible that Israel, probably likely, in fact, that Israel managed to stay in international airspace start to finish here. So we're going to zoom out real quick. You've got Israel here on the top part of the screen. Down here in the bottom, we've got Yemen. To zoom in to give you an idea of Hodeidah, this is the port that was struck in the Israeli attack. And we can pretty much, way out. So you can see how Israeli aircraft could have flown through Israeli airspace, stayed out through international waters here. Again, international waters through the Red Sea, and come all the way down to strike Hodeidah and then turn around and return to Israel. So, there's countries like Saudi Arabia right now is saying that their airspace wasn't violated. It kind of checks out just looking at the map. Another rumor, and this one emanated from the Houthis, of all things. They said that the United States and the United Kingdom were involved in this attack. There's no indication at this point that actually occurred. So an Israeli defense official told CNN that this was 100% an Israeli strike. The official said Israel had previously let the U.S. and U.K. take the lead on responding to Houthi attacks, but decided to respond itself this time because of the death of the Israeli civilian in Tel Aviv. According to that same official, Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant informed the U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin before the strike was carried out. So, kind of read between the lines here, the U.S. would not need to be informed before the strike was carried out if the U.S. was involved in that operation, right? Finally, here, a spokesperson for the White House National Security Council said the U.S. had not coordinated with Israel on the airstrikes, but added that the U.S. fully recognizes Israel's right to self-defense. So in terms of what this means, kind of the major takeaway, a couple key components. This is the first time, I believe, that Israel has ever struck Yemen, not just from the start of this war, but ever. This is also one of, if not the longest range military strike carried out by Israel in their history. In fact, IDF spokesperson Daniel Hagari said that hitting facilities over 1,800 kilometers away, or 1,100 miles, the strike was among the most complicated ever carried out by Israel. And one way that a lot of folks are viewing this is that it was not just a message to the Houthis, although we will get into that, but also aimed at Iran and Hezbollah, kind of giving all of these groups across the Middle East that have desires of taking on or are currently taking on Israel in a variety of ways, that Israel has the ability to conduct these attacks in a very quick turnaround time, right? It's 24 hours from when the drone struck Tel Aviv to when bombs are falling on Hodeidah. To say, in a very short period of time, Israel can identify and carry out strikes very far away across the Middle East without losing a single aircraft or pilot. Now, I understand people might look at this and say, well, the Houthis are very different than Hezbollah, very different than Iran. Yes, true, for sure, but the Houthis aren't a walkover. And then there's reason to believe, from Israel's perspective, that they easily could have lost one or more aircraft during this strike. I mean, since 2015, the Houthis have shot down multiple manned and unmanned aircraft. So the manned aircraft are coming from the Saudis and Emiratis. There's been discussions of F-16s, F-15s, and even a Mirage that appear to have crashed. The Houthis, in every one of those cases, said they shot them down. Of course, you're having to kind of read between the lines, right? These aircraft after combat operations over portions of Houthi-controlled Yemen crashed. Sometimes the pilots died. The Houthis say they shot them down. These countries say, well, it was a technical error. Either way, manned aircraft being brought down. Quite a few Apaches, again, manned by the Emiratis and the Saudis, have been shot down in recent years. And then we've seen U.S. Reapers, Predators, Scan Eagle, and other drones recently shot down by the Houthis. So there is a significant air defense presence in Houthi-controlled territories of Yemen. This was not a walkover, if you will. And it shows in this case that Israel is able to carry out this operation without losing a single aircraft. Now, I have also seen people point to this and say, what is Israel hoping to accomplish? They're just bombing a group that's been bombed by the Saudis for a long time, and nothing was achieved there. This is different in a lot of ways. It's kind of comparing apples to oranges. Deterrence can happen from the Israeli perspective in this case. So with the Saudis, especially, the Houthis are essentially trying to retain their territory, continue control over portions of Yemen. They're fighting for their existence. When it comes to striking Israel, the Houthis are not fighting for their existence. If anything, and if you listen to the Houthis, they're fighting for the Palestinian people. So Israel's response here, specifically targeting the port and quite a few, looks like, fuel storage areas in the port, they're trying to make this painful for the Houthis. They're trying to make this to where the Houthis look at striking Israel as an option, and an option that is not worth pursuing long term. So again, the Houthis' attack on Israel is not a matter of life or death for the Houthis, whereas the Houthis fighting back against the Saudis really is in a lot of ways. So I wouldn't look at this as a one-to-one of they've made it through all the Saudi airstrikes, they're going to make it through the Israeli airstrikes. The goals between the Saudis and the Israelis in this case are going to be quite a bit different in a lot of ways. Then turning to some responses from the Houthis here, they say, quote, the Israeli enemy launched a brutal aggression against Hodeidah governance, targeting with several raids the power station that supplies the coastal city of Hodeidah with electricity. It also targeted the Hodeidah port, fuel tanks, all of which are civilian targets, adding, quote, we will respond more violently and stronger to this Zionist American aggression. So again, if you've been following this conflict or watching previous videos in this channel, you know that every time the Houthis put out a statement, it's not just aimed at Israel, it's generally aimed at Israel, the United States, the United Kingdom, and more. It does look like earlier today the Houthis tried to respond. It appears that a missile was fired at the southern portion of Israel and was successfully intercepted by the IDF. An IDF statement said that the IDF aerial defense array successfully intercepted a surface-to-surface missile that approached Israeli territory from Yemen using the Arrow 3 aerial defense system. The projectile did not cross into Israeli territory. The incident has concluded. This was backed up by the Houthis saying that they did launch an attack against Israel and kind of limiting the impact. They say that the results results were achieved. So very vague, not really noting that it appears that missile was shot down without actually entering Israeli territory. But that's what we got for now in terms of this Operation Long Arm. There's, both sides are kind of talking a big game about this continuing. Israel saying they're going to go back and continue striking Houthi targets if these attacks persist, and the Houthis saying that they're not done. They're going to strike back bigger and harder than last time. So we'll keep an eye on it. But again, that is what we know so far. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.